What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. Our 2023 college football predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Washington State Cougars, a team coming off a pretty up and down season in 2022, but coming off a pretty decent season, I should say. They went 7-6 overall last year, and this is a team that kind of really surprised me last year in 2022. This was a team that I was not really high on heading into last year, but this year is a little bit different for this Washington State team. Looking at this team, my thoughts on this team, I think they're going to be pretty good on both sides of the football. They got some options at quarterback, and this team has a lot of talent on their football team. They have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. It starts at that quarterback position. You got plenty of options there. You also got plenty of options at running back. I think that's going to be the strength of Washington State's team this year is the running game. I think they're going to probably be one of those top, rushing teams in the Pac-12 perhaps. You look at the schedule this year, and also I think Washington State has a chance to be maybe a top 25 team this year for 2023. People say they are probably not going to be a top 25 team. I think this definitely is a team that can maybe make a jump to the top 25 this year. You look at the schedule, they play Colorado State on the road, Wisconsin, and Northern Colorado in the non-conference. So yeah, Wisconsin there, that's a rematch from last year. They played them last year on the road and did beat this team, but this is a new Wisconsin team with Luke Fickell as the head coach. The game is obviously going to be a lot more entertaining than it was last year. And then you got the Pac-12 schedule. No USC on the schedule or Utah on the schedule, but they do have to play Oregon State, UCLA, Oregon, both on the road, and also Washington on the road, so that's kind of what makes the schedule a little bit tougher a little bit for this Washington State team. But let's get right into it here. With my prediction for Washington State. Let's go game by game and give you an official prediction for this team. So they start things off here with Colorado State on the road on September the 2nd. This is a game I think Washington State should take care of business in. I don't really see Colorado State giving Washington State a scare in this one. I know it's on the road and all, but I think Washington State should start out 1-0 pretty easily with a win over Colorado State on the road. Then it's Wisconsin at home on September 9th. This has potential to be a pretty good game here. I think the game is far more entertaining than it was last year here. Last year, Washington State defeated Wisconsin on the road. This year, could Wisconsin turn the table? Could they get revenge on this Washington State team? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with how Luke Fickell is going to compete at the Power 5 level as a head coach, but he does have experience as the head coaching position. But Washington State, this is a tough one here for me. It's at home for Washington State. Very tough place to play for the Badgers. And with that being said, I think Washington State wins a close one here for Wisconsin. I think the game is obviously more entertaining than it was last year. And with that being said, I think Washington State gets the win, and then they take care of business against Northern Colorado. So I got the Cougars starting out 3-0. Then it's Oregon State at home here to open up Pac-12 play on September 23rd. Oregon State's going to have a pretty good team. They're going to have a really good offense led by DJ Ogale at quarterback. It depends on how good he's going to be this year. I think this game is going to be a short-scoring type game. I think Washington State can keep Oregon State's offense off the field for pretty much the entire day, and I think Washington State's is going to want to run the football in this game. And with that being said, if you saw my Oregon State video a few months ago, I did predict Washington State to win this game because home field advantage does play the difference, and it's a tough place to play for Oregon State. So with that being said, I got Washington State beating Oregon State here on September 23rd, and I think the Cougars start out 4-0. They get a bye week rather early here after that Oregon State game. They'll play UCLA on the road here on October 7th. I think we're kind of into a shootout here between these two teams. UCLA is obviously a tough place to play, though. I really don't see Washington State beating UCLA on the road. That's a very tough place to play. I think they'll compete. I think they'll compete in this game probably for the first half. I think UCLA will pull away in the second half. I think UCLA wins here over Washington State and gives them their first loss of the season. And then they'll play Arizona at home on October the 14th. Not going to be an easy game here for Washington State. I think you could probably call this game a trap one here for Washington State because Arizona, I think, has potential to be a top 25 team. I think both of these teams are pretty even in returning production, but obviously Washington State is at home in this game. It's really hard to go against Washington State here to be at home against Arizona. I think Washington State here wins a close one over Arizona in a shootout-type ball game, and I think Washington State improves to 5-1 after that win over Arizona. Then they'll play Oregon on the road on October 21st. This game is kind of similar to the UCLA game. I think Washington State does compete for the first half, but I think second half, I think Oregon will pull away. I think Oregon's just got way too much talent on their roster. I really don't see Washington State going on the road and defeating Oregon. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Oregon gets the win here, and that puts Washington State's record at 5-2. Arizona State on the road on October 28th. This is an Arizona State team that's kind of in a new rebuild year, it seems like, and they're just not going to be really not all that good. I just don't really think I'm really that high on Arizona State, to be honest. But, I think this is a game that could probably be close in the first half, because this is a game that's in the later part of October, and maybe Arizona State can keep this game close. But I think Washington State playing on the road, I think they're the better team here. I think Washington State gets the win over Arizona State, and I think this team improves to 6-2. Stanford at home on November 4th. This is a home game for Washington State. I really don't see this game being all that close. I think it's kind of similar, to the Arizona, or not really similar to any other game on this schedule. But Stanford's in a rebuild year, it seems like, and it's just hard to tell how good this team will be. So I think Washington State gets the win over Stanford here at home, and that puts their record at 7-2. Cal on the road next year on November 11th. This is a pretty tough one here. Cal, obviously, a team that's kind of, in a, trying to rebuild a little bit, but not really like in a rebuild year. They're just trying to get a lot of talent from their roster, but this is a tough place to play. This is a very tough place to play here for Washington State, but I think Washington State is the better overall team in this one. I think this game is kind of similar to the Arizona game. It's a trap game for Washington State, but I do like Washington State here to get the win on the road at Cal. I know Cal could probably pull off an upset, but I think Washington State is the better overall roster. I just think Cal has a long way to go before they start to compete in the Pac-12 again. Then it's Colorado at home on November 17th. This is a home game for Washington State. This game will be on a Friday. Colorado's got a new rebuild year. They're starting, over with all the players that are coming in the transfer portal. They lost so many key players from last year, only 3 returning players from last year's team. And we just don't know how good this Colorado team is going to be. But I think this game is kind of a trap game as well. Cal, it's kind of similar to that game in Arizona. It's also similar to that. But I think Washington State has the better overall team in this one, plus playing at home. I think Washington State gets the win here over Colorado. Then they'll play Washington on the road to end things out here on November 25th. A rival game. You never know what can happen between these two teams. Washington's going to have a pretty good roster. They have a lot of production coming back. Washington State does have a talented roster as well in order for them to compete in this one. And it would really not shock me if both of these teams probably will have winning seasons this year. I think Washington is capable of going to a New Year's Six Bowl perhaps, but this is a game that you just cannot sleep on if you're Washington. This is going to be a pretty good game. Like I said, it's a rival game. You never know what can happen. But playing on the road, I think Washington is the better overall team in this one. So with that being said, I think the Huskies knock off Washington State here and give them their 3rd loss of the season. So I got Washington State finishing 2023 with a record of 9-3. You could tell I'm very high on this team. I think the schedule really sets up nicely for them to have a really good season. But it's very possible this team could go 8-4, 7-5 perhaps. I think people are probably going to pick 7-5 as their, likely record. But this team, I think, has a potential chance to go 9-3. They are definitely a top 25 team, but maybe they can also compete for the Pac-12 championship. And I've been saying it all off season long. I think this team is a dark horse contender in the Pac-12 this year. I think they're the only dark horse contender as well in the Pac-12. But that's my prediction for Washington State is 9-3 for 2023. Let me guys know what you think about this Washington State team. What do you think their record is in 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.